All right, all right. Hello, everyone. My name is Akosh. I'm the CEO of Airtime, which is an autonomous discovery platform turning user calls into product insights. You can run any user research call, or sales, or customer service calls through it, and it will identify dominant feedback and patterns like unmet needs or pain points. Today, I'll be talking to Eitan Gersh Kaplawi about roadmaps and why they're dead. Eitan has over 12 years of amazing and hands-on product management experience, and he is now senior PM at Gloat, which is an AI talent marketplace. Eitan, it's a pleasure to have you here. I'm very, very happy you accepted my invitation. And as a first thing, could you say a few words about yourself so that we can place you in this big world of product management and tech companies?
Amazing. So first of all, excited to be here and thank you for having me. And I always enjoy our conversation, so it's a great excuse to have another one. I'm Eitan. I've been a product manager for more years than I can remember, probably 12, as you said. I've been on multiple types of products and companies like mobile apps, web apps, backend products or API products, and now I'm been on platform team for the probably past two companies I've worked at. And I've had the experience of going through various planning methods. And also in my time or in my hat as a consultant, I work with early stage startups. And I see a lot of mistakes they do around roadmaps and planning and this sort of stuff. And that's what got us here, I think.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think you just provided the perfect segue about roadmaps, and we had a number of discussions in the past couple of years. There's one of the things that that you said, and I clearly remember the moment when you said, "Well, Akosh, you know what? Roadmaps are dead." I just plagiarized when I came up with the webinar title, and I took this from you, and I think as a first step in the webinar today, I'd like to understand what experiences and what learnings in your professional past brought you to the conclusion there's something flawed with roadmaps.
Perfect. So just like I'll give like a public service announcement, like a disclaimer that I think should go on all product discussions. Basically, no two companies are the same, no two product teams are the same. Your market, my market, your team, completely different. What works for me might not work for you and vice versa. So like, listen to the concept, take what works for you. Like, this is not a religion. And like, I don't pretend to know everything. I'm sharing my experiences. So I hope it will be helpful for people. I truly believe that there's no one way to do product management right. So like, disclaimer, with this out of the way. So basically, I think what product maps are trying to solve are a few things, and like you can chime in and help me with your experiences, but it's clarity towards the future into what we're going to do. And we have a strategy. And in smaller companies and earlier stage companies, the strategy can shift quite often, as you probably know. And we want to see that like we have a plan to play out the strategy. The second thing is for the market people. All right, so let's say we have builders and market people in a company. We need both of them. So market people need to go and sell the product or create a website or create marketing material or whatever. And they're looking for certainty into what features they'll have and what they can build and what they can promise their clients and when will it come. And oftentimes these two things clash because the desire for certainty and predictability, which very often comes from the people that never built software. And I'm not saying it's like their fault or their issue. It's just like we're operating in different fields, builders and market people. And the desire for certainty like puts the team into a place where you want to hammer down a roadmap and what we're going to do and when it will be delivered. And the reason I think it's flawed is for two main reasons. One is, I think I'm a big believer in the theory of constraints and product teams. You should always identify your biggest bottleneck and put most of your efforts into that. And if you're going to ask me what my biggest bottleneck will be 6 months from now, which is basically a roadmap, you're asking me to commit, this is what I'm going to work on 6 months from now, sometimes 3 months, sometimes a year. Like obviously, if it was a model, that the certainty would decline over time. And like I'm committing to work on something and resources and shipping something, which when the time comes to work on it, might not be the biggest leverage or the biggest impactful effort that I'm going to work on. That's like one thing I don't like. And I found myself working on features that are very low impact, but I committed to them earlier. The second thing is the backlog starting to get full with commitments, like either by it can be like malice or it can be by innocent. So I've met like market people that wanted to push their agenda into the product. So they started committing to clients and filling the backlog and basically trying to own the roadmap by giving client commitments. That's like very bad situation, different discussion to have about that and how to solve that. But also just like account managers and salespeople and marketing people, amazing ones, not bad ones at all, but they do need to give commitments, or they do want to give commitments. And these commitments start to fill up as you have more and more clients, because this account needs one thing and this account needs one thing and this conference you want, and suddenly you have like 4 or 5 commitments on your plate, which are not necessarily the things that you would decide to focus on as a product manager.
Those are very interesting points. I've in a recent discussion, I've come across another phenomenon, which was I was talking to my counterpart, and he told me, well, we don't really need to like work on the roadmap because I have just so many items. It's filled for the next 2 years. And this comment and this feedback came at a time when I asked, oh, how about exploring changing user needs and preferences? So just from what you said, it also reminded me of the fact that as product teams, it's easy to oversee some pattern changes and need changes that are happening right now because we have this sense of, or false sense of security that the roadmap is filled. We know what customers want, and this is what we're going to work on in the next 6-12 months.
Totally. And I think that brings up like another point, which I feel with roadmaps is that we have a lot of discussions and a lot of effort, and we nail the roadmap. We get it done. Everybody signs off, and like we feel we won. It's like a sense of victory, and everybody's like sense of alleviation, happiness. And in fact, that's like 100% bullshit. You did nothing by finalizing your roadmap. You just put words on paper, and you can put anything you want on this paper, but you shipped nothing.
Not yet at least. And Eitan has because roadmaps they're the prevalent method, right, to plan ahead what you build and what you don't build. And what I was wondering about is, has anything changed in the environment? Has anything changed in the pace of development in the market that sort of deems roadmaps, I won't say obsolete, but a bit more outdated as they were, let's say, 5 years ago?
Mm-hmm. I think, first of all, like, I don't know if it's the market or me evolving as a PM, but basically the realization that I'm basically dumb about things which are 2, 3, 4 months out, and I don't really know. And the fact that I put in a plan doesn't mean that it's the right thing. And if I revisit it like every month, I might change my mind about what the team should be focused on, or maybe my counterpart will argue and convince me or present a different approach, or the market will present something else. So like, for me, it was just being more in touch with constantly polling like my model of reality and figuring out what's the most important thing, and adapting my priorities based on that and the teams. And the second thing, I think also, like, let's call it startup thinking or agile thinking or lean thinking, whatever tag you want to put on that, is becoming more and more common. Like, even marketing people know that and understand the benefit of quick cycles, being very maneuverable, and giving yourself optionality. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the word that I keep hearing is flexibility. When you think about roadmaps, is that one of the dimensions that you're trying to add as a solution, or how do you approach this flaw of the roadmap, which is the rigidness coming from, okay, I just planned something ahead to 6 months and now we need to stick to it?
So it really depends, like, on the team I'm on or I'm working with, but I try to think of the horizon the team has in terms of certainty. All right. For example, in the early days of Airtime, you could probably see like a month out tops with clarity in terms of like things that you have to do and ship, and afterwards it will become like guesswork, or the level of certainty will really go down. So like, first of all, identify the time horizon which you have certainty, or like, let's say 70 or 80% certainty in terms of the things you're going to ship in. And a difference between companies and between teams. All right. Even if tomorrow you start a new team in an enterprise company, they might not have like an horizon past a month or 3 months. So first of all, like, thinking of the smallest, least riskiest step that the team can take, and trying to like shrink the horizon of the roadmap to match that step. That's one thing I'm thinking of. Second thing is, and some companies do what I'm just going to say, and some companies don't, but like, try and have, first of all, like, goals in terms of the entire quarter or period that you're planning in. These can be OKRs, KPIs, any type of smart objectives, however you define your goals. And for the near future, the beginning of the period, it's all right to be detailed and very specified. But as you start getting away, be vaguer and vaguer, and like say, we're going to focus on improving performance, for example. Don't say, we're going to improve performance by working on our back end, blah, 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 whatever you're going to do. So like, keep yourself maneuvering room on the metric you want to change and not the specific things you're going to do.
And is this how it also works at Gloat? And if you're working in this method there, could you give some examples in terms of what's the time horizon where you feel high confidence and high fidelity? Are there like a middle section and then the product vision blurrier part in the end? And how do you come up with these goals? I'm looking for like a few tangible and good inspiring examples here.
So this is an interesting example. So I started working at Gloat 3.5 months ago. So I did one cycle of quarterly planning and roadmaps, and I'm just about to start the second one. And the challenge for me was that Gloat does like the classic roadmap planning that is known, but like, because I'm new to the neighborhood, I said like, listen, learn, observe, take notes, think what's going well, what's not going well. And like, it's not your time to shake the boat, especially since it's like a very concentrated effort by the company to organize its process and create predictability for R&D and market teams. But few things. So first of all, like the first few sprints at Gloat, we laid out the entire sprints for the quarter, and around week 2, a commitment came in and just shuffled the cards, and the roadmap is not completely out. Like, I'm a big believer of the quote, I think it's Eisenhower, like planning is everything. Plans are useless, but planning is everything, because the planning process did surface dependencies and things we have to do and this sort of stuff. Like, it gave us a lot of this discovery materials, but the plan itself broke very quickly, and not completely, but fairly. So what we're doing differently in the coming quarter is to plan in more detail the beginning of the quarter and make it vaguer and vaguer as we go on. That's one thing. The other thing is trying to create alignment of the KPIs that everybody knows, like, I'm on the platform team. These are the KPIs of platform team. These are the 3 things we're going to focus on, or the 2 things we're going to focus on. And these are the biggest rocks we're going to do to move it forward. And obviously we have client commitments and this sort of stuff that we'll have to handle as well, and will come in. But to try and really narrow down, like, number, big rocks, commitments we're going to do, which can also be big rocks, but not like a million different things. Keep it very high level. Not very, but medium. Does this make sense?
Absolutely. I'm gonna rewind the wheel of time a little bit, and Airtime is my first startup, and the first time I'm a founder. And I think I've become a lot more relaxed in the last 3 years, but I clearly remembered in the beginning, I was very tense. You know, my background is in strategy consulting. You hash out everything. You start a project, you have a Gantt chart, and you tell your client exactly what's going to happen in week 2 on Tuesday, what's going to happen in week 8, what exactly you're going to be working on. And I'm curious if you had like old Akos, I mean old in a sense, Akos 3 years ago, who's tense, who's worried, who wants to have comfort, and even it's a false sense of comfort, like having a roadmap which is hashed out further into the future, it sort of indicates that okay, the product team thought about it, they hashed things out, I can relax. How can you convince Akos 3 years ago to be more relaxed and just maybe gradually mouth feed this more flexible approach to roadmaps that you advocate?
Perfect. So basically, 3 years ago, Akos was on the market side, basically, because he doesn't know how to ship software and basically how you build software and all of the things that go into it. And you don't really understand how come there's so many changes and interruptions and unknowns in a pretty closed system, at least it seems from the outside. And what I did in a previous company I worked for, we worked in monthly cycles. I was able to like bring the team into monthly cycles. We had a quarterly plan in terms of big rocks and big numbers and KPIs, very, very, very open. And once a month, I would sit with the team lead, write down what we think are the most important things. Then I'd go to account managers, sales team, get like their coming up things in the coming month for important things, and rewrite the plan. Obviously, communicate as I go with VP R&D, VP product, VP sales, everybody that needs to know, just to make sure that I didn't miss anything. But Akos knew that like these are the things I'm going to work on this month, But he also knew that I'm going to come to him again in 4 weeks, in a month's time, and ask him again, what are the most important things for you? So like, there's always a polling cycle, and the window is like 1 month long. So if something is super important to you and it didn't go into the monthly plan, you're going to have a chance to pitch it again in a month or 5 weeks, whatever your cycle duration. And so the fact that there was trust in the fact that I will poll you and you will get a chance to raise your concerns every month. And if something is high importance or commitment, you will flag it and I will factor it into my plan. And that I listen, I don't just come with a plan, listen to you, say, yeah, thank you very much, bye-bye, and do my own thing, but I factor in my actions, my prioritizations, show that I take into account what you said, builds confidence. So basically, as you build trust, everything becomes easier. And listening and trust, I think, are very important things in this game.
Yeah. This reminds me of a discussion I had with the user research leader from Stack Overflow, and she's she's a big believer of are research roadmaps. And when she described how she made a quarterly research roadmap, resembles a lot how you describe like staying in touch with various stakeholders within the company and understanding their needs, and then giving comfort that their needs are reflected in this roadmap. What I'm curious about, though, is flexibility is a lot of value. But is there a tipping point or an inflection point when if a system becomes too flexible, then it's destructive in a sense that it's a lot more effort to keep this too much flexibility, and we're constantly changing whatever is on the roadmap, even on the short term?
For sure. So there's like a balance between checking every day what's the most important thing and changing, and then you find yourself like running in all directions and basically making no progress, versus like checking in a short cycle, 2, 3, 4 weeks, but also making sure you're shipping. Like basically look at the output. If you're not shipping meaningful things, something is not working in your process. And I don't care if you have like detailed roadmaps or you're working in weekly cycles, monthly cycles, whatever. Something is not working properly. So examine your outputs and outcomes. And if you're happy with them, don't listen to me. You got a system which is working perfectly, good for you, enjoy. But if they're not working, you better change something up. And that's like a good indication. And then like, in terms of the flexibility, ask yourself if you feel that people are focused. Like if I'll come to Akosh and tell him, Akosh, what are you working on? Do you know what it is, and like what's the horizon in which you need to get it done? And if people can answer it clearly and they focused on one thing, I think it's a good situation. But once people cannot answer like what I'm working on, what problem it's solving, who is it solving for, when does it have to be done, what are the resources and other players, I think you've gone like too vague.
Got that. I have we are nearing the section of our dialogue, so I'm just putting this point out there to the audience, which I see like a number of comments and feedback there. Thanks so much for the engagement. And if you have any questions,
I hope I'm not gonna be grilled or stabbed. I don't see the comments, but
but like it's if you have any questions, anything like you bring your problem, your worry, anything that Eitan said that you would like him to elaborate more on, this is the time. Put in the question, and I'll make sure in the next few minutes we'll transfer it to the Q&A part, and I highlight the questions and put them for Eitan to answer.
I want to add one more thing, which bothers me with roadmaps and planning. So at the end of the day, let's say we want to build a feature, all right? Add the caption of the name and below it the description of the road, the red and white titles we're seeing on the screen as a feature. So as a PM, at the end of the day, there's no way around it. I will have to pull somebody from engineering, from what they're working on right now, and get an estimation into something we might work on in the future. So road mapping basically means I'm taking you off of what you're working on now, which I decided now is the most important thing, hopefully, if I'm doing my job well, and work on something and give me an estimation and give me a quote and start like opening the code, looking into it, because you might not have an idea, and like invest energy, time, resources into something that you might build instead of focusing on things right now. And sometimes it can be very taxing on engineering teams, and I really don't like that.
I can second that with my own experience, and I see with our tech team on like when I come around the corner with an idea, in some cases they say like, Akash, we need to run a spike. It's going to take us 2-3 days to look into this particular topic to be even able to have the knowledge to give you an estimate of what it would take, and then just multiply this. But if you have like a lot of requests from various departments in a bigger company, and this is only just to bring the knowledge to a point where the engineering team is confident enough to put an estimate on the table.
Yeah, I'll try and answer the questions quickly because I think we're getting tight on time. I can stay longer if you want.
Yeah. No, we're good. We're good. But let me. I'll just put Dennis's question. I'll highlight it so that everyone can see it. And this is about balancing resources between building new stuff and servicing existing.
All right, this is a very painful topic. The truth is, like, I don't have a methodology for that. It's a lot of conversations with CS, like support people, how much stress are they having, how much they're serving as a bulletproof vest for me, and like getting bugs and stuff like this. The amount of bugs the team is carrying, like, are we fixing too many bugs or are we making forward motion? And and can we identify like the biggest things that we can focus on that will really reduce the amount of bugs? I think you should always have a balance. You can never say like, all right, we're going to stop now. We're only going to fix bugs. And in a month or 2 months time, we're going to start moving forward. I think that's a very bad recipe. So just make sure you have a balance. I don't know to tell you 20-80 or 50-50, depends on your system, but definitely don't stop forward motion because you're just giving your competitors a gift. Go ahead, like, overtake me.
Yeah, to build on top of your answer, I can share our approach, which I'm not claiming is the best out there, but what we're trying to do is like one third new stuff, 1/3 feature, 1/3 bug, 1/3 quality tickets. Obviously, with an early product skewed towards building new features and less focus.
I'll add one thing on top of your approach, which is very common, like a good approach. First of all, have a discussion about it, have a decision about it, and revisit once a month. Is it working for you? Like, you will sit with your team next month. Are we happy about the 3-3-3 mixture? Yes, amazing. Let's move on. No, let's reshuffle.
Let's change.
Yeah.
I have the next question from Oded about focusing more on short term. I'll let you read through. It's a longer one.
All right. All right, cool. So this is a very good question. Thanks for that. So basically the question is how to make sure that when each time you're choosing to work on the most important thing, you're not just working on the closest most important thing while losing sight of the longer, bigger goal. And that's a very good thing. And I think for that, like, the company needs to have clear mission and goal and overall strategy of how we're gonna do that. And you as a team need to like feed off of that, your decisions. But also, once you have a plan, once you know what you're doing or think you know what you're going to do, get feedback on it. Like get input from leadership. Do you see how it plays out? And have a discussion about it. So, for example, when I do my quarterly planning, I have my yearly goals on top of that. I do the planning, and then me and my team lead, we sit and we see which of the boxes feeds into the top goals, the yearly goals that we have to meet, that the company wants us to accomplish, just to make sure there's alignment and that there's a good mixture. And if there isn't, we surface it. So, for example, now in Gloat, we felt that there's not enough effort into a specific yearly goal. We flagged it out to leadership, like commitments, bugs, whatever, are preventing us from moving this goal. Are we fine with that? Let's discuss. Does it answer the question? Was it clear?
I give Oded a couple of seconds to answer in the comments, and if you have some follow-up questions, feel free to put it there. In the meantime, I have it's more like a comment from Chris, but I think it has a number of interesting ingredients, and I wanted to ask you to reflect on this and share your thoughts.
I'm just reading for a moment.
Yes.
Definitely. Like, I think what Chris is talking about is like on a specific feature and not necessarily on the roadmap as a whole. And I totally agree that at some point you need to decide like what's going inside the feature. I don't think the word freeze is 100% accurate. Like, you can have discussions about removing things, or at least upfront you can say, this is not a must, and if we have time, we'll do it, but if not, we'll pull it out. But I totally agree around alignment and the thesis. Like, this is a problem we're solving. This is how we think we're going to solve it. This is who we're going to solve it for. This is how we're going to solve it. This is a feature, the design, and the different moving parts and teams. Let's go and build this. Like, and this is the amount of time or resources we want to allocate that. So I totally agree with that. Like, I don't have anything to add.
Cool. I have a question from Ronald about aligning with stakeholders and about your experience and what approach you would suggest.
Yeah, definitely. So I don't have like a good answer for that, but what I do have an example for my experience is that when we were able as a product team to give the C-level example that we're listening to them, we're going to ship products that they want to sell, we're listening, we're getting the market feedback from the sales team, the account teams, and we're putting work into that. And if they don't give us client commitments, specific client commitments, and move us from being a project company towards like a generic product company, it will actually allow them to resell the product more and more and more and more. And again, it comes back to communication and trust between the teams and experience, and also like sometimes going their way and showing them like, we did it your way. This was the result. Here's a different approach. Are you happy to try that? And understanding that it takes time, especially for people that do not build software. It's very bizarre to understand why you cannot know when a feature would be done for somebody who never built software. It takes time. I think, yeah.
I'm just going to share a funny example, like a discussion I had with my technical co-founder the other day. We were talking about the ticket, and there are obviously story points for that. So I said, like, you know, like, I don't know, like 5 points, it's 5 days. So I said, oh, amazing. So the feature is done in 5 days. He said, no, Akos, there's a review cycles around that. So if you see like 5 points, maybe it's going to be 2 weeks, maybe it's going to be a week, but maybe it's going to be 2. And I'm doing my best to help you explain this, but this is just the nature of this. And I think in my case, the constant exposure to a fantastic co-founder who has the patience to explain to me all these technical details and how the technical process works, it helped to build a lot of trust for me towards the entire tech team. So I can just wanted to build on Eitan, your answer with this personal story, and I hope, Ronald, you find this a good answer from Eitan. If you have any follow-ups, feel free to share.
So I want to build on what you just said, because I think it's a great example. So first off, like, the fact that you have an open discussion and understanding about that is great, because like you inform each other. I think also exploring different versions. I really like Shape Up. The people from Basecamp put out a book. There's a free PDF version around Shape Up, which I love. And I think like I often recommend early stage startups that I work with that they read the book together, like the CTO and the CEO or whoever on the team, read the book together, decide what you like from that and pick and choose. But I think it can really help people understand some of these complexities and way to mitigate it. But mainly like have discussions around these things and educate people. But also you shouldn't be complacent to your technical co-founder, and you should keep pushing him into, why is it 5 points? Why is it taking a week? Why should we be talking numbers? Like, I think it should always be this pressure to improve and get our process better.
Yeah. That's a very good point. I don't see further questions in the chat. This is your last chance to ask Eitan, so put it in there if there's anything you were hiding so far, or if you don't want to do it now, get in touch with us afterwards. Like, add us on LinkedIn and feel free to have a bilateral chat. Eitan, from my side, I have a last question, and this is a question I asked from all of my guests. Before I do that, I see a question from Kimberly, so
Wonderful.
I'm gonna give her priority over my airtime here. And here's her question about roadmaps.
I'm picking between a couple. I'll share two, actually. One was an early stage startup. I think they were seed or pre-seed, and they shared with me, like, I think it was a 6-month roadmap, and it was like based on so many assumptions into the market, so many assumptions into what are the right features to build, and so many assumptions into hiring people. Like, I think there were 3 people at the time, and the roadmap took into account that they will be like 6 people. I think it was like completely unrealistic for a startup. The horizon, 6 months for a seed startup, I think you could say it better than me, Akush, but I think it's like beyond the mountains. You're basically just guessing at that point, I think.
Absolutely.
So like, if you're an early stage startup, 1.5 to 3 months tops, in my opinion, based on your stage. The second thing was a more mature company. First of all, the roadmap planning tried to do like a 6-month plan. And second of all, a lot of meetings and uncertainties and commitment from sales. I think my team lead during that period, I'm not sure she worked on anything besides road mapping, or like she killed herself during the process, so she can also be there for like the team. And so was I, but for me, like, road mapping is part of my job, so it's not as taxing. But the desire for certainty, the amount of arguments, salespeople arguing about what should go in, product people, account people, and just like, I don't think the roadmap was bad, but the outcome for the company culture was bad. Like, we ended up losing trust in each other, going into different tribes, a lot of bad energy. I think that was the worst thing, like the impact on the culture.
I see. I have an additional question from Nina, and she's bringing in a very interesting angle. What's your take on her question?
Yeah, I think that's the right angle. Like, you identify the big themes that you want to move the needle on, and you'll figure the details of what's the most impactful things you can do as you go. And it gives you, like, from a market point of view, or for the market people point of view in your company, it gives them like, all right, these are the things we're going to move forward without specific details. And to the building part of the company, it gives you the freedom as you get nearer to start figuring out what these things are and communicating them to the market people and getting feedback. So I really think that's the right approach. But it can be very challenging to shift the company to this sort of thinking. And yeah, all right, I'll leave it at that.
A question building on this from Elira. Does this boil down to OKRs?
No. I think OKRs are a way to do that, but also, as I mentioned, like, you can do it the shape up way, which are like 6-week cycles, or you can do short monthly plans. OKRs, KPIs are just like one way of doing that. Many times, especially earlier teams or early stage startups, KPIs or OKRs are kind of a make-believe game. Like, numbers are, and also, I really like OKRs. They're a great and useful tool. But just like I said at the beginning of the conversation, people often become super religious and obsessed about them. And instead of understanding the concept that we want to have like a top line goal and important things that go downstream from that, they start focusing too much on the OKRs process and talking with everybody. And again, we end up doing a super resource intensive and expensive planning process instead of actually shipping work.
Thanks for clarifying this. And I have a question now. It seems like we opened the bag of questions, and now I'm really grateful to the audience. This is an amazing webinar. I love the flow and I love the dynamics as well as your answers.
I'm just hoping I'm not talking shit and I'm making sense. So let me know if I'm talking shit.
I definitely, for my part, I can say I'm learning a lot from this discussion, and I'm curious what the audience will say. But I'm fairly positive it will be positive. So let's return our attention to Eric's question, which is about your approach and what's the biggest product delivery achievement you had with this.
So like, I've kind of discussed let's call it 3 main approaches. So one is really shortening the horizon for what you're planning, do a roadmap, but for a short period. One is like the shape up cycle method. And the third one is like have numbers or goals. Let's call it objectives. And as you go, figure out the details and the features you're going to build them. My biggest impact, the thing that I enjoyed the most, and I think really increased the velocity the most, was for me like the Basecamp approach. The team really liked it, and we were able to ship very fast. But we were operating in an area that we knew pretty well, so it was good for us. That was a good fit. So the shape up was great for us. And the second thing was when I worked in a company in which we were able to shift to the goals or KPI based goals. And we were able to like every month decide what's the scope of work for this month that will impact the goal. And the sales team, the market teams knew what numbers we're working to move and got like a say in and input into what we decided to ship. So these were my 2 favorite ones in terms of impact and product delivery velocity.
Thanks so much for sharing. And I think those were the perfect final words, Eitan, because we're at the end of our time slot. already a minute beyond. Thanks so much for joining me today. It was an ultimate pleasure to learn from you and hear your thoughts. On top of that, I'd like to thank our amazingly engaged audience for all the questions and commentaries. I'm really grateful for that, and it's a pleasure doing webinars when I see so much engagement. So it warms my heart. Thanks, and I wish all of you a very nice day or the end of the day in case you're located more to the eastern parts of the world. Take care, everyone.
Thank you, Akos. It was a pleasure, and I hope I will get better at roadmaps. I'm still working to improve.
If you make like a quantum leap from here, from where you are, then come back and you need to tell us again. Okay?
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Let's do that. Take care, everyone. Ciao,
Ciao.
ciao.